Hi everyone, cynthialoowho here. I was asked to do a tutorial on the explosion box I made, so I decided I would make another one because you can always use an explosion box. And so what you're going to need is a paper trimmer, a scorer, a corner rounder if you want to round the corners, some tape. Let's see what else. That's it. That's it. So you're going to need 3 sheets of 12 by 12, and you're going to have one stay 12 by 12. The next one is going to be 11 1/4. So you're going to cut off 3/4 on 2 sides. So 3/4 off this side, 3/4 off this side. And then the next one is going to be, let's see, what size is this? I'm going to have to look at it on here. So this one is, I cut 1.5 inches off. So that would make this, you would think, what is 12 minus 1.5? So 10.5. Okay, so 10.5. So you're going to cut 1.5 inches off this side and 1.5 inches off this side. So 10.5, 11 1/4, and 12 by 12. Then you're going to need a piece for your lid that's 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. And then I just hurried up and made up all my mats because I know that part takes a while. And so the mats that will go on the very first one are going to be 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. The next one one's going to be 3.5 by 3.5, and that's going to be for the second one. And then the next mats are going to be 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Okay, so let's get started. On your larger piece, you're going to score that on all 4 sides. Let me set this over here. On all 4 sides at 4 inches. So let me get my scoreboard. Oi. So 4, 8, and I'm going to turn it 4 and 8. And this paper I've had for ages. It is the design K & Company cut and paste. I just wanted to use something that was double-sided but still heavy duty. And this will fit the bill, hopefully. Okay, and then fold. I want it to go, yes, this way, because this is going to be the outside of your box, so I kind of wanted it to be a symmetrical design. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to cut, let's get a pair, oh, you need some scissors too. I'm sure you probably already knew that, but I'm going to grab these ones and put my scoreboard over here. Hopefully it stays. Okay, so you're going to cut, can you see the line better on this side? Here, turn it, you're going to cut here, cut here, just to the score line, and then right here to the score line. Score lines disappearing. Okay, that way it can close up like this. Okay, and then if you want round these corners, I'm not going to do that because if I round these, this isn't going to be rounded, so it's just not going to look right there, but I want the mats to be rounded. So take your large mats, the 3 3/4. If you want to use mats, you don't have to. And I'm going to put them all along here. End up covering all this pretty paper. And I'll probably speed play through this, so enjoy the music. Okay, I got all my mats on, and you could put mats on these ones, because, well, not all of them are going to show, because this is going to be the outside of your box. So this is going to show, this is going to show, this is going to show. Actually, that one's not, and these two. So you don't have to do mats on those. But okay, then take your next piece of cardstock that it measures 11 1/4 by 11 1/4, and we're going to score that. And that is going to be scored at 3 3/4, turn, 3 3/4, turn, 3 3/4, and turn 3 3/4. Okay, got them all, and now we're going to cut each corner out. I'm going to flip it over, it'll be easier to see the lines. And then what you can do on these is cut these down to 3 1/2, and then you can use those for mats back here if you would like. So now I'm going to put the mats on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. I'm going to glue this onto the center of this one. So first I'm going to make sure that it's going to fit good. Okay. Just try to center it on there as best as you can. It's hard to see with the lines. Okay. Just want to make sure it's going to close. Okay, so for the last piece, and you can keep going and going and going, you just want to cut 3/4 off of your 12 by 12 each time, and then you're going to score it 1/4 inch smaller each time. So since this last one was 10 1/2 by 10 1/2, the next one would be 9 3/4 by 9 3/4, and then instead of scoring it at 4, 3 3/4, 3 1/2, it would be 3 1/4. So now we're going to score this one. At 3 1/2. Is that right? 3 1/2. Yeah, because that was 4 and then 3 3/4 and then 3 1/2. Okay, 3 1/2 all the way around, or on each side. Okay, and then cut your 4 corners out. Okay, then I'm going to glue these mats on. And these ones were they 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 with the rounded corners. Okay, and then that glues inside here. I'm gonna make sure it's centered real good. Okay. Now we'll do the small box. Perfect. So for the small box, grab your 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 and score it 1 inch on all 4 sides. Okay, now when you're cutting these corners, you're just going to cut one side, and you're going to cut the first cut's going to be straight, and then the second one is going to be a little teeny bit to cut this little piece off. So straight cut first, and then come in just a teeny bit and cut at an angle. And then put some glue on your tab. And then fold it in. Now what I did on my box to make it stronger and last longer is I cut a piece of medium weight chipboard. You don't want heavyweight, that's just too big and bulky. So medium weight chipboard. I cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller on both sides, so I cut it at 6 1/8 and 6 1/8. That way it would fit nicely inside the box, and it worked out really nice. It's a real good sturdy lid. Okay, so let's make sure that this fits, and it does. Okay, so now for the center little teeny weeny box, we'll make that out of the cream. And that's going to be 7.5 by 7.5. And we might as well make the top right now. And I'm going to make the top out of this pink one, so it would be 250, 350, 3 3/3. So 3 3/4 for the lid by 3 3/4. Okay, for the box, you're going to score it at 2.5 inches on all 4 sides. So 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and 2.5. And then fold over and score, or whatever, burnish, fold this. And then I'll do the lid real quick. And I'm going to score that at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. Hopefully that's not too big, is it? That looks awful big. No, it's not. Okay, so for the bottom, we're going to do again like the first one, and we're going to cut right along here on this line. Instead of cutting the corners out, we're going to keep them. Give you more places for photo mats or journaling or memorabilia, whatever you want. And then this little baby's gonna glue. Now you can glue this in here at the same, but I just kind of twisted it so it gave it a cool little angle. But you don't have to do that. You can still keep it in the same order. Okay. I like to be able to see the bottom when I'm doing this, so I can get it on here just right. Okay. And now for the lid. Fold your score lines, and then do the same thing where you cut and cut out a tiny notch. Okay, and then add your glue. Just like that. Lid goes on. Make sure I got all the mats up. Hang on, I'm videotaping. Just a sec. And that goes up. And this goes up, and then the lid goes on. And there's our explosion box. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Share it with your friends, and thanks for watching. Bye!